The first time I heard 3 heartbeats, I thought the machine was broken. I was lying in a small examination room at Bellwether Fertility Center, with cold gel on my stomach, and both hands locked around the edge of the bed. Dr. Patel moved the ultrasound wand once, then twice. 3 tiny rhythms filled the silence. Fast, fragile, impossible. Is that an echo? I asked. Dr. Patel did not answer immediately. Her eyes stayed on the screen. 1 heartbeat flashed near the top, another below it, and a third flickered in a dark corner like a star refusing to disappear. Mara, she said softly, you are carrying triplets. The room stopped. I had spent 7 years saving for 1 baby. I took extra night shifts at St. Anne's, skipped vacations, and moved into the cheapest safe apartment I could find. Every spare dollar went into an account labeled Someday. 3 weeks earlier, Someday had become an IVF procedure. I had chosen an anonymous donor because I wanted motherhood without an alpha relationship. I grew up watching my Omega mother ask permission to spend money she had earned. When she finally left my father, I had already learned the wrong lessons so well that it felt like truth. Depending on someone meant losing yourself. So I had planned carefully. 1 baby, 1 small apartment, 1 exhausted but capable mother. Not 3 heartbeats. Are they healthy? I asked. At this stage, yes, but a triplet pregnancy is high risk. You will need more monitoring, fewer work hours, and possibly bed rest later. Money rushed through my mind before fear did. 3 cribs, medical bills, time away from work. I pressed a hand over my mouth. Then I noticed that Dr. Patel was not smiling. There is something else, I said. She set down the wand. The clinic found a discrepancy in the donor records. What kind of discrepancy? She looked toward the door. A man in a gray suit stood outside the glass panel with the clinic director. Neither of them would meet my eyes. The genetic sample used in your procedure did not come from our donor bank. For 1 wild second, I thought I had misunderstood every word. You used the wrong sample? It was labeled with your selected donor's number, but the seal and storage code were falsified. We believe the material was stolen and placed in our system deliberately. My stomach turned. I wiped the gel away with shaking hands and sat up. Stolen from whom? Dr. Patel went pale. Alessia Moretti. I knew the name. Everyone in the city knew the name. Alessia Moretti was called a businesswoman in newspapers and a Mafia Queen everywhere else. She owned shipping terminals, private clubs, warehouses, and half the buildings along the Eastern River. Prosecutors had tried to connect her family to smuggling, extortion, and 3 unsolved murders. They had never made a charge stick. She was an alpha so powerful that other alphas lowered their voices when they spoke about her. And I was carrying her triplets. My hands went cold. Does she know? The clinic director finally entered. We were legally required to notify her representatives, he said. They confirmed the sample was taken during a private medical procedure 2 months ago. Miss Moretti reported the theft, but the report was sealed. I looked between them. You told a Mafia Queen that her stolen genetic material is inside me. No one answered. That silence was an answer. I left the clinic with 3 ultrasound pictures in my bag and a security guard walking me to my car. I had been pregnant for 6 weeks. I had known for 9 days. Until that morning, the positive test had felt like the beginning of the life I had chosen. Now it felt like evidence in a crime. At home, I locked the door, closed the curtains, and searched Alessia's name. The first photograph showed her leaving a courthouse in a black suit. She was tall, dark-haired, and expressionless. 2 bodyguards followed her, but she looked more dangerous than both. Other images linked her to a burned rival warehouse and a children's hospital she had funded. Every story contradicted the next. I barely slept. On the 2nd day, the clinic's lawyer assured me that no one could control my pregnancy. Custody after birth, however, could become complicated. On the 3rd day, a black car parked across from my building for 6 hours. On the 4th morning, I went to St. Anne's for a repeat blood test. 2 unfamiliar men stood near the maternity elevator. One wore an earpiece, the other watched every entrance. I turned and walked straight into a woman in a charcoal suit. Her hands caught my arms before I fell. Rain and cold stones surrounded me, with smoke underneath. Her controlled alpha scent made my instincts go still. I looked up into Alessia Moretti's dark eyes. She was even more frightening in person because she was calm. "Mara Vance," she said. It was not a question. I stepped back and covered my stomach without thinking. Her gaze dropped to my hand. Something moved across her face, then vanished. "If you are here to threaten me, do it where there are cameras," I said. "I am not here to threaten you." "Then why are your people watching my home?" "Those are not my people." The words landed harder than a threat. "We need to discuss our children," she said. "Somewhere secure." "They are not a business negotiation." "No," she said. "They are the reason I am trying very hard not to turn this hospital upside down." I should have refused. Instead, I followed her into an empty consultation room because two strange men were still standing near the elevator. Alessia remained by the door while I took the farthest chair. She placed a thin folder on the table. The sample was stolen from a private clinic after a procedure I had for genetic screening, she said. It was never intended for fertility treatment. Why would anyone steal it? My enemies meant to sell it. A biological heir with Moretti blood could be used for inheritance claims or leverage over my family. My palm tightened over my stomach. "The clinic says an employee falsified the records," I said. "An embryologist named Owen Pike. He vanished after your procedure." "Did you make him disappear?" Her expression did not change. "No, I wanted him alive." I believed her, which frightened me more. She opened the folder. Inside were legal documents, a list of maternal fetal specialists, and a letter stating that she would cover every pregnancy-related expense without gaining control over my medical care. I did not touch any of it. "What do you want?" "To protect you, to protect them, to be involved if you permit it." "And after they are born?" "A co-parenting agreement." I laughed once without humor. Shared custody with the head of a criminal empire. Pain flashed in her eyes, so quickly I almost missed it. "You did not know how the sample reached the clinic," she said. "You are a victim of the same crime. I will not take the babies from you. I will not force a bond. I will not decide where you live, or whether you continue working." Every answer was the opposite of what I had expected. "Why should I trust you?" "You should not. Not yet." She pushed the folder toward me. "Trust the terms. Your lawyer can change them. There are clauses guaranteeing your independence, privacy, and full medical authority. Support for the children creates no personal debt to me." I looked at the papers but still did not touch them. Alessia's voice lowered. "You will not owe me anything, Mara. But those are my children too, and someone stole the material that created them. Whoever arranged this may know who received it." A knock came at the door. Dr. Patel entered with a tight expression and announced that my hormone levels were rising too quickly. She wanted an immediate scan and an appointment with Dr. Liao, the hospital's high-risk pregnancy specialist. "May I come?" she asked. The most powerful alpha in the city was asking permission to enter an ultrasound room. I heard myself say yes. Dr. Liao was kind and direct. 3 embryos in separate sacs gave them a better chance, but my blood pressure was unstable. I needed fewer shifts and twice-weekly monitoring. "Living alone will become difficult," she warned. "Not today, perhaps, but soon." I felt my carefully built future cracking under every sentence. Alessia stood in the corner, silent until the 3 flickering shapes appeared on the monitor. Then her cold mask broke. Her breath caught, and her eyes shone. She lifted a hand toward mine, then stopped, as if she had no right. I did not understand why I did it. I reached first. Her fingers closed around mine, with impossible care. 3 rapid heartbeats filled the room. Alessia Moretti, who had faced judges and guns without blinking, let one tear slide down her cheek. That was the first time I saw the woman behind the name. It was not the first time she surprised me. 2 nights later, someone broke into my apartment while I was working. Nothing valuable was taken, only my medical calendar was missing. Alessia arrived before the police left. "You cannot stay here tonight!" "I am not moving into one of your houses. There is a private maternity suite at St. Anne's. I cannot live in a hospital for 7 months. Then choose a hotel or protected apartment, anywhere with controlled access." "You keep saying choose while surrounding me with your security." Her jaw tightened. "Because I am trying to keep fear from turning me into the person you already believe I am." Dr. Liao called before I could answer. My latest tests required observation. When I tried to stand, the hallway tilted. Alessia caught me before my knees hit the floor. Her arms were strong, but she did not pull me against her. She held me only as much as necessary, and asked, "May I carry you?" I was too dizzy to argue. "Yes." She carried me down 3 flights as if my body weighed nothing, and the babies weighed everything. At the hospital, she sat outside my room all night. I knew because every time I woke, I could see the polished toe of her shoe beyond the half-open door. The next morning, Dr. Liao warned that I needed rest, reliable meals, and someone nearby. Alessia offered her lakeside estate. It had a separate guest wing, a private entrance, and enough medical equipment to satisfy Dr. Liao. I refused until the nurse handed me my discharge instructions, and I saw the words "no periods alone." Independence was easy to worship when it endangered only me. Now 3 tiny hearts were depending on my choices. I looked at Alessia. 1 month. I keep my own phone, my own money, and control of every medical decision. No entering my rooms without permission. No guards inside the guest wing, unless there is an emergency. If I feel controlled, I leave. Agreed. You did not even negotiate. Your freedom is not a price point. That answer stayed with me all the way to the lake. The Moretti estate was a beautiful fortress. Cameras watched the cedar-lined road, and the gray stone house stood above the lake. Alessia showed me the locks, exits, and a red button that called the medical team. Then she handed me every key. "Dinner is at 7, but you can eat here if you prefer," she said. "Where will you be?" "The other side of the house." "You live here alone?" She glanced toward the quiet hallway. "Until yesterday. The first week was nausea, blood tests, headaches, and the humiliation of needing help to stand. I hated the guards outside. I hated how relieved I felt when I heard Alessia in the corridor. On the 6th morning, I tried to make tea and woke on the kitchen floor. Alessia was kneeling beside me. One hand supported my neck, while the other held a glass of water. "Do not move," she said. "I am fine." "You are on the floor. It is a very clean floor." For half a second, the corner of her mouth moved. The babies were safe, but Alessia installed another alert button and rearranged her schedule to eat breakfast in the guest wing. "You do not have to supervise me," I said the next morning. "I am eating toast." Men with guns searched the room before you arrived. They are unusually protective of toast. I laughed before I could stop myself. She looked pleased, which made me suspicious. At breakfast, I mentioned my mother's rosemary potatoes with sour cherries, a strange meal she made when money was short. The next morning, a plate of rosemary potatoes and sour cherries waited beside my tea. "How did you do that?" I asked. "Your mother gave the recipe to my chef." I stared at her. "You called my mother." My assistant called her. "That is slightly creepy." "It is attentive." I took one bite and started crying. Alessia simply moved the napkins closer and looked away until I could speak. After that, she noticed everything. She learned that coffee made me sick, but lemon peel calmed me. She kept crackers everywhere and discovered that I hummed when nervous. I learned things too. She read reports at 4 in the morning, never sat with her back to a window, and secretly loved honey cakes. When a guard broke an expensive vase, she asked whether he was injured before checking the damage. The stories online had not been entirely wrong. They had not been entirely right either. At 12 weeks, Dr. Liao let Alessia attend another scan. One baby kicked constantly. Another curled near my spine. The third hid from the camera. "That one is stubborn," Alessia murmured. "That one is related to you." Her eyes warmed. Alessia's hand hovered beside mine. I took it without thinking. She watched the monitor through tears. I watched her instead. Something shifted inside me, quieter than attraction and more dangerous. Trust. The babies became real to Alessia in that room. Alessia became real to me. At 14 weeks, Alessia brought a leather notebook to breakfast. The first page said names in her severe handwriting. She liked family names. I liked names that sounded warm when whispered in the dark. We rejected Storm because I refused to shout it across a playground. She campaigned for Valentina until I said a baby should not need business cards. Then I suggested Sophia. Alessia went still. "My older sister was Sophia," she said. It was the first time she had mentioned a sister. "We do not have to use it. I would like to, if you would." I wrote Sophia with a small star beside it. That evening, Alessia showed me a room overlooking the lake. 3 unassembled cribs waited in boxes. "I thought you might want to choose," she said. We chose the color of new leaves. Alessia dismissed the decorators and insisted we assemble the cribs ourselves. She understood international shipping contracts but could not follow the instructions. "It is structurally sound," she said. "That is what people say right before furniture collapses." I read the directions. She handled the heavy pieces and slipped a cushion behind my back when I grew tired. It was ordinary. That was what made it precious. But danger never stayed outside for long. Owen Pike's car was found abandoned, with blood on the seat. Then a photograph arrived showing me outside St. Anne's, with 3 red circles over my stomach. Alessia doubled the gods. I accused her of turning the estate into a prison. That night, I found her alone on the terrace. "You can be angry with me," she said. "I am." "Good. Anger means you still believe you can say no." "Tell me about Sophia," I said. Alessia's shoulders stiffened. For a long time I thought she would refuse. She was 10 years older. She raised me while my father built his kingdom. She wanted to leave and study architecture. What happened? My father's rivals planted a bomb in her car. They believed he would be inside. The rain seemed louder. "I am sorry." I was 19. My father had a stroke, and I inherited everything. Leaving would have started a war, so I became harder than the people around me. And the criminal businesses? I shut down some and separated others from the legal companies. I told myself I could control the rest better than the men before me. Her mouth tightened. That was a comfortable lie. For 3 years, I have been moving assets into legal shipping and security. The stolen sample was meant to trap you. Or replace me. An heir is a symbol, even before she can speak. I thought of the red circles on the photograph. You never wanted children. Her gaze dropped to my stomach. I wanted them enough to know they would never be safe with me. There it was. Not coldness. Fear. I reached for her hand. "They are safer because you are here." Alessia looked at our joined fingers, as if I had offered her something sacred. "So am I added. That was the night fear stopped being the only thing connecting us. By 20 weeks, Dr. Liao reduced my activity again. I had to leave St. Anne's earlier than planned. I packed my nurse's badge into a drawer and cried until my chest hurt. Alessia found me sitting on the floor. "I cannot do this," I said. "I cannot work or live alone. I wanted 1 baby, and now people want to use 3 in a war I never knew existed." She lowered herself beside me, but did not touch me. "I hate needing everyone," I whispered. "I hate feeling weak. Needing help is not weakness." "Easy for you to say." "No." Her voice was rough. "It is the hardest thing I have ever learned." I wiped my face with my sleeve. Alessia continued carefully. I love how you talk to the babies. I love your terrible jokes when you are frightened, the way you thank every nurse by name, and the 4 notes you hum when you cannot sleep. I love that you are scared but keep choosing what is best for our children." I stopped breathing. "Alessia, I do not expect anything from you. I only need you to know that when I stay, it is not obligation." I looked at the woman who never sat with her back to a window. She was offering me the one unguarded part of herself. So I leaned forward and kissed her. It was a soft kiss, a question more than an answer. She did not move until I touched her cheek. Then one hand settled at my waist, light enough for me to pull away. I did not. When we separated, her forehead rested against mine. "Are you sure?" she asked. "About the kiss, yes. About everything else, ask me tomorrow." Her quiet laugh warmed the room. Tomorrow became small choices. I sat beside her at dinner. She knocked even when my door stood open. Every co-parenting document required my approval. At 22 weeks, a scent crisis tested those choices. I woke after midnight with heat crawling beneath my skin. The room smelled of orange blossom, my own scent sharpened by panic. I pressed the alert button. Alessia arrived first, then stopped outside the doorway. Her alpha scent struck like a wave, rain on stone with smoke underneath. But she did not cross the threshold. "Dr. Liao is on the way," she said. "Tell me what you need." "You." The word came out broken. She shut her eyes for 1 second. "I can help with scent and pressure. Nothing else. Not while your judgment may be affected. Please come closer." "Do I have permission to touch you?" "Yes." She entered slowly, keeping space between us, until I guided her hand to my neck. "Here?" she asked. "Here." Her scent surrounded me without crushing mine. She held me while Dr. Liao confirmed it was hormonal, not early labor. The worst passed before dawn. Alessia stayed awake beside me. She never treated my need as permission for more. When I woke, her hand was open on the mattress between us. I placed mine over it. Desire had drawn me to her. Restraint taught me I was safe. After that night, I stopped counting the days until I could leave the estate. At 24 weeks, we learned all 3 were girls. Sophia kept her name. We chose Lucia for the quiet baby who turned toward Alessia's voice. The smallest became Nina after my mother. Every evening, Alessia read them complicated history books because she claimed children deserved serious literature. I chose animal stories. The girls kicked more when she spoke. One evening, we lay on the nursery rug. Sophia kicked, Lucia rolled, and Nina tapped beneath Alessia's thumb. "They know you," I said. "I hope so. What happens after they are born?" Alessia watched the ceiling. "I make the legal companies independent and give authorities what they need to dismantle the rest. You could lose everything." "Not everything." Her eyes turned to me. "I thought love created weakness. I was wrong. It gave me a reason to stop creating enemies." My throat tightened. "I love you," I said. It was the first time I had said it. Alessia's controlled expression disappeared. She kissed my knuckles, then my palm. "I love you too." This will not be a quiet life. Then it will be perfect chaos. At 29 weeks, Dr. Liao scheduled a hospital evaluation because Nina was growing more slowly than her sisters. We left before sunrise in a medical transport vehicle with 2 security cars. Halfway to St. Anne's, a delivery truck blocked the road. Our driver reversed. A black van struck us from behind. The side door opened. A man in paramedic clothing climbed inside and raised a syringe. Alessia hit his wrist before he reached me. The needle flew under the seat. "Stay down," Alessia ordered. She placed herself between me and the open door. Her guards were fighting outside, but a third attacker came through the rear. Alessia could have reached for the gun beneath her jacket. She reached for me instead. The vehicle rolled off the road. Alessia shielded me until we struck a barrier. A terrible pressure tore through my abdomen. Warm fluid spread beneath me. "Alessia." She looked down. For the first time since I had met her, I saw pure terror on her face. My water broke. Sirens sounded. Her guards pinned the attackers. Alessia could have ordered them to disappear. Instead, she took out her phone and called the detective who had handled my apartment break-in. "They are alive," she said. "You will receive them, the weapons, the vehicle, and every recording my security system captured." Then she knelt beside me. "Look at me, Mara." Pain folded me in half. "It is too early. I know. Nina is too small. Look at me. I have you. You are not alone." The ambulance reached us 6 minutes later. At St. Anne's, Sophia's heart rate dropped. There was no time to stop the labor. "We need to deliver by emergency C-section," she said. My entire body shook. Alessia stood beside the operating table in scrubs, her dark eyes fixed on mine. "What if they cannot breathe? Then the neonatal team will help them. What if I lose them?" Her fingers tightened around mine. "We will meet each moment when it comes. Stay with me now." Under the bright lights, I felt pressure, fear, and Alessia's hand. Then a thin cry cut through the room. "Baby 1, a doctor called. "Female, strong cry." "Sophia," I sobbed. A second baby arrived silent. I heard nurses working, heard the rhythm of oxygen, heard Alessia whisper my name over and over. Then Lucia gave one small, offended sound. "She is breathing," someone said. The third baby was so tiny that the doctor carried her past us inside both hands. Nina did not cry. Why is she not crying? Alessia looked toward the neonatal team, and I watched fear tear through every wall she had ever built. Seconds stretched. Then a faint squeak came from across the room. It was the smallest sound I had ever heard. It was enough. All 3 girls were taken to the NICU before I could hold them. I woke with an empty ache beneath my ribs and Alessia asleep beside my hand. "The babies?" I whispered. She woke instantly. "Alive. Sophia needs breathing support. Lucia needs help maintaining her temperature. Nina is on a ventilator, but Dr. Liao says she is fighting. I need to see them." "As soon as the nurse clears you." She helped lift me into a wheelchair herself. The NICU glowed blue. My daughters lay in 3 incubators, impossibly small. Sophia wore a breathing mask and kicked angrily whenever a nurse touched her foot. Lucia opened her dark eyes and watched everything in solemn silence. Nina looked almost weightless beneath the tubes. I pressed my hand against her incubator. "I am sorry," I whispered. Alessia crouched beside me. "For what?" "My body could not keep them safe. Your body carried 3 lives through an attack and brought them here alive. Do not call that failure." I leaned against her shoulder and cried where everyone could see. Sophia came off oxygen first. Her cry filled the entire ward, and the nurses called her the commander. Lucia struggled to feed but gripped my finger with surprising strength. Nina had the longest road. Her lungs were immature, and every small improvement was followed by another alarm. Alessia stayed through all of it. She read through the incubator walls and learned to change tiny diapers. Her hands trembled the first time she held Nina. "She is so small," she whispered. "She knows your heartbeat." Nina settled beneath Alessia's chin. For 20 minutes, the feared Mafia Queen did not move. On the 12th night, I found Alessia sitting alone between the incubators. "You should sleep," I said. "So should you." I sat beside her. Sophia stretched. Lucia watched us. Nina slept beneath a yellow hat. "You kept your promise," I said. "Which one?" "You did not take them from me." Alessia turned toward me. "Mara, I am not here because they carry my blood." "I know. I am here because they are our daughters, and because every room you leave feels empty after you." I took her face between my hands. "Then stay for me too." "With you," she said. "Always." The arrested men worked for rival boss Carlo Vescari. Owen Pike had moved the sample so Vescari could track a pregnancy, seize the children, and use them as Moretti heirs. Owen was found alive in a remote safe house. Alessia could have ordered revenge. Instead, she met federal investigators in a hospital conference room and handed them ledgers, recordings, account numbers, and the names of officials paid by both families. She included evidence against her own organization. "Once I do this, there is no return," she told me. "Do you want to return?" She looked through the window at our 3 daughters. "No. The legal companies went into an independent trust. Illegal operations were closed, and Alessia cooperated before charges were filed. She lost clubs, warehouses, political allies, and almost half her fortune. She slept better. Nina left the ventilator after 3 weeks. Lucia finished a full bottle 2 days later. Sophia developed the habit of screaming whenever one of her sisters received attention. At 7 weeks old, all 3 girls came home. The estate had once held armed meetings and guarded secrets. Now burp cloths covered every expensive chair. Alessia refused to hire night nurses for every feeding. "I have negotiated ceasefires at 3 in the morning," she said while warming bottles. "Can a ceasefire spit milk into your hair?" Sophia answered for her. Alessia stood frozen, with formula dripping down her black shirt. I laughed so hard my incision hurt. Within a month she could identify each daughter by her cry. Sophia demanded immediate service. Lucia made soft questioning sounds. Nina produced one determined squeak and waited, because she already understood that Alessia would come. Some nights, I found all 4 of them asleep in the rocking chair, one baby on Alessia's chest, and the other 2 tucked safely in bassinets beside her. Those moments mattered more than promises. Power had once meant making an entire city fear her. Now it meant changing 3 diapers without waking me. 1 year after the attack, Alessia opened Moretti Security, a legitimate company staffed partly by former guards who completed professional training and licensing. It protected hospitals, shelters, and small businesses that could not afford private security. She still wore dark suits. People still moved quickly when she entered a room. But she came home smelling like rain, cold stone, and baby shampoo. Bellwether Fertility Center closed after the investigation. The director lost his license, and the building remained empty until Alessia bought it through the family trust. She did not turn it into offices. Together, we created the Sophia, Lucia, and Nina Maternal Health Center. It offered fertility counseling, prenatal care, legal advocacy, and free treatment for omegas with high-risk pregnancies. Every storage system required independent verification. Every patient received a clear explanation of consent. No one would ever sit in that building and learn that her body had been used in someone else's scheme without having an advocate beside her. On the morning the center opened, Alessia asked me to meet her in the old ultrasound room. The machines were new, but I recognized the window. Sunlight fell across the floor where I had once believed my future was collapsing. Alessia stood beside the examination bed. She looked nervous, which was so rare that I checked the hallway for danger. Then she knelt. "Mara Vance, I am not asking because of the girls." My eyes filled immediately. "I am asking because you argue with me when I deserve it. Because you see the worst things I have done without believing they are the only things I can do. Because you built a home with me without surrendering one piece of yourself." She opened a small ring box. "I do not want obedience. I want partnership. I want late bottles, loud breakfasts, your humming, and every imperfect ordinary day we are given. Will you marry me?" I sank to my knees in front of her. "Yes." A crash sounded in the hall. My mother rushed in carrying Nina, while a security guard followed with Sophia and Lucia. All 3 babies were crying. Sophia had somehow pulled a ribbon from the opening display and wrapped it around her fist. Alessia looked at the chaos, then at me. "Perfect timing." "Perfect chaos," I corrected. We married by the lake in early autumn. There were no political guests and no hidden weapons. Former nurses from the NICU stood beside guards who had become licensed security officers. Dr. Liao cried through the ceremony. My mother cried before it began. The girls wore green dresses the color of new leaves. Sophia shouted during our vows. Lucia tried to eat a flower. Nina took 3 unsteady steps toward Alessia and brought the entire wedding to a stop. When Alessia and I promised to choose each other, no one needed to ask whether the promise came from obligation. We had already chosen each other through fear, sickness, sleepless nights, and 3 incubators. Marriage was simply the day we said it, where everyone could hear. Years later, our house was never quiet. Sophia climbed everything and announced rules no one else had agreed to. Lucia watched before she acted, then surprised us all. Nina remained the smallest and the most determined. She followed Alessia through the garden, asking questions faster than anyone could answer. Alessia taught them courage, without cruelty. I taught them that asking for help was a kind of strength. Together, we taught them that love never required surrender. Sometimes I still woke before dawn and remembered the woman I had been in that first ultrasound room. She had used her last savings to build a future she believed she had to carry alone. She had thought dependence and love were the same as losing control. Then I would hear Lucia calling from the hallway, Sophia arguing about breakfast, and Nina climbing into our bed. Alessia would reach for my hand beneath the blankets. The 3 heartbeats that once sounded like the end of my plan had become the rhythm of our home. I had wanted motherhood without depending on an alpha. I became a mother with an alpha, who never asked me to become smaller so she could feel strong. Love did not take away my independence. It gave me someone who protected it.